I know what you're thinking. This week's vlog was supposed to be a hacking vlog. That's what I promised you, and you would be right. But the weather has been so bad, and was so bad last week, it was like -5 at some points, that we just couldn't go hacking. So instead, I asked you to vote, and you all did, or you know, some of you did, and you voted for a Polework session, which is what we're going to do now. We don't have loads and loads of time today. It's lunchtime and I've already run back to my car once. So let's get going. Hi darling, you okay? Hi. So today's actually quite an exciting day as far as rehab goes, because it's the first day that we're going to do raised poles. And we should be trotting by early February. Trotting, isn't that exciting? So we have a vet visit on the 3rd of February. And I'm hoping she's going to sign off trotting. Just going to pop you there for a brief moment. I'm rushing around because it's lunchtime, and I come up at lunchtime because it's quiet and Woody finds it easier to cope. But obviously, you know, it's a lunch hour, so I try and be quick. And because I'm doing pole work today, I've got to set them up as well. I'm actually just trying to charge my Pivo because I'm slightly worried that it's going to run out partway through this session, and then you'll all be angry with me because you'll be like, it was a pole work session and we didn't see any pole work, etc. Is this charging? Right, the Pivo won't charge, classic, but it has 60% battery, so let's just hope that it works. I've got a pole, so we're just going to set out a fan formation, and we're going to raise like every other. And so the point of this fan formation is so that Woody increases his proprioception, which basically means his understanding of like where his body is and where his feet are and stuff. We actually talk about proprioception in riders as well, which is quite interesting, about knowing if you're like sitting too much to one side and things like that. Can you see that? It's just a fan formation, and then I'm going to grab some little blocks from the bucket over here and just pop one up, sort of one up, one down, which I'll show you when I've done it. So we put a block under one end of the pole, which raises it, flat on the other end, and then we've done the opposite on the other pole. Can you see? And then there's a block on the third one. So we've got those three, and then we've just got a single pole by itself. And the single pole is just quite useful for getting started and getting them into the flow of pole work. Right, that's it. I'm going to set the Pivo up. I saw quite a lot of interest when I did the poll about hearing what the Pivo is like. So I've used Pivo for like 3 years now. Every time I ride, pretty much, or every time you see footage of me riding, it's always from the Pivo. And it's got better and better and better every year, really. So I will do a little sort of review of the Pivo. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Somebody asked me last week if I could show you what the inside of the waifu bar looks like, and I have one in my pocket because I haven't had time to eat lunch. So this was the advert for last week's video. This is not a paid ad, but it features products that have been previously used in the paid ad. So these are the waifu bars. I eat these when I'm doing stuff like this, running around, don't have time to have lunch. And someone asked me to see the inside. So this one's half eaten, I'm so sorry, but I was hungry. So this is the outside of the hazel and chocolate one. Can you see that? Just a chocolate, and that's the inside of the bar. So it's kind of like nougat on the bottom, nuts, and then some chocolatey stuff on the top. That's it. I'm a really big fan of them. Yeah, I like them. And it tastes good. I don't want to eat with my mouth full, so let me go and grab tack, and then let's get on. So at the moment, with these lunchtime rehab sessions where I'm trying to get things done, you know, relatively quickly, we run things slightly differently than you may be used to. So what I do is, to get Woody tacked up as quickly as possible, I give him a quick go over with the dandy brush where the tack is going to go, but he actually doesn't get a full groom until after the ride, because that allows me to spend the majority of my time on the riding, which is the most important thing in terms of his rehab. And then any spare time I have, I can use giving him a nice groom, or I can come up and do that later in the day or the day after. It also pains me to let Woody eat with his bridle on, but I didn't take him out of the box, so what am I going to do? I have just rolled up his reins in the throat latch so that they don't get stood on while his head is going up and down. Still loving the Equitex saddle pad. I'm still using it for every single time that I ride. Still long lining in my Audevard pad. I can't find my girth. Why does this always happen when you're in a rush? Totally forgot that I hung it up outside when I cleaned it on the weekend. And he had a day off yesterday, so I haven't used it again. Don't judge me. I hung it up on a tree branch to try and dry it. I know I was in a rush, because that was a risk, leaving the saddle on Woody with no girth, but here it is, and all's well that ends well. Don't judge me, okay? I know he looks like a scruff pot, but we have to prioritise doing the rehab and then brushing him after. Come on, sweet pea. Woody had a day off yesterday. I have been giving him day offs on Tuesday at the moment, so I was expecting him to come in a little bit stiff, or potentially a little bit sharp. I wasn't 100% sure, but he was just a little bit stiffer when we started than when we got going, and that's fine. He did loosen up in the end. Couple of things to update you on whilst we're warming up. The first is that, for those of you who've watched for a while, I know that's such an annoying thing to say, but it is true. You will remember that Woody and I did a kind of symmetry journey last year, where we spent a lot of time working to get him more symmetrical, to buy ourselves our kind of dream saddle from Louisa Cuomo Saddles. And then, unfortunately, with Woody's injury, we ended up not buying a saddle, which is actually for the best, because we were going to buy a jump saddle, which now would be useless. So anyway, I have booked us in with Cuomo Saddles for June. And so I kind of figured that by June, we will either be back in some sort of, you know, significant work, walk, trot, canter, or Woody will have retired, in which case, you know, obviously I cancel the appointment. But I don't know, that just feels like, I think if we make it to June and we're doing work, then why would we not, you know, treat ourselves to a nice saddle? So that's something that I'm really excited about. The other thing that I thought might be fun to update you on is, I have been looking at this website and YouTube channel for ages now called Dressage Rider Training, and it's a New Zealand based woman who does these YouTube videos where she does kind of yoga style movements, which are designed to help riders be more symmetrical, more flexible, more balanced, stronger, etc. And she does this 12-week course with 3 workouts a week. And I looked at it last year and sort of ummed and ahed, and she only opens it at certain times of year. And anyway, this year it came around, and I just thought, you know what? It's a perfect time to do it, help Woody with his rehab. And so I'm on week 2 now of it, and I'm really enjoying it so far. The movements are really accessible. Anyone, I think, could do them. There's lots of like yoga style movements. The only ones I'm finding difficult are where you're sort of on your hands and knees with my wrist, because for those of you who don't know, I broke it in the summer. And so the pressure on that is a little bit challenging, but otherwise I'm really, really enjoying it. And I'm also in the middle of Couch to 5K. I'm on week 4 now, and I am not a runner. So for those of you who are thinking about doing Couch to 5K, which is this app by the NHS and I believe the BBC in the UK, it kind of talks you through starting from literally doing no running at all the way up to half an hour. So I'm doing these things in the hopes that it will make me a stronger and fitter rider for Woody. And I don't know if it's the placebo effect, but I definitely feel like it's having a difference. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the pole work. Can I just say, how good is he looking? Like, I'm looking back at this whilst I'm editing, and he looks so good. I know I'm biased, but I really think he does. I did get off at this point because I thought, oh, he's knocked it down, and I should go and put it back up. But actually, he knocked it down again, and I thought, you know what, I'll leave it. But if you've been following along, obviously we started with some easy changes of rein. We did a couple of serpentines, and then we went over the single pole by itself a couple of times on each rein, and he's not hitting that at all now. He's also just happily striding out with a lot more purpose, and often the sessions in the last 2 weeks have actually felt like we're doing a schooling session in walk as opposed to just kind of wandering around aimlessly. And that's a really, really lovely feeling, actually. You know, we've been doing some really nice bending this way and that way and square halts, and it's lovely. I feel like I'm starting to get my horse back, so it's really nice. So then once we did the single pole a couple of times, we moved on to doing the fan formation on both reins, starting in the middle and then moving to the outside of the fan and then the inside of the fan. I actually didn't do the inside of the fan today because that's the tightest one and that's the most difficult, but just to see how he copes. We actually only do this for about 20 minutes because it's quite hard work for him at this early stage, and actually I felt that we got where we wanted to, so I was, I'm so over the moon with him. Even if you look back at, I think I showed you last week, but if you look back at those early December clips, he just looks so different already. It's wonderful. He is wonderful. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. I think that was really, really good, especially for the first times doing race poles. Feels like he's getting stronger every day. So we're going to untack and then do a time check, and if there's time, I'm going to give him a little brush because he has started molting now and he's a little bit itchy. It's nice to get the blood flowing and get some of that winter coat coming off bit by bit every day. Yeah, very pleased with that. Good boy, Mr. Wood. Here I'm just taking the liner out of Woody's rugs. I love the liner system. This is the Premier Equine one, and it has been really cold, as I've said, but actually looking at the temperature, I think we were on around 4 degrees at this point, so he had a 100-gram liner under there and he didn't need it, so I was just taking that one out and leaving him with just the top rug. Come on, Mr. Wood. Good boy. Okay, Woody's done. Just gotta put the tack away, go and put the poles away, and then shoot back home. Well, that's it. It won't always be this manic, but the reality is it's really hard to come up here and do all the rehab at lunchtime when you've got a full-time job, and you know, I'm so lucky to have flexibility, but it's not easy to do this, even if it is sort of, you know, short term. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge with this kind of thing is, yeah, okay, you run around and do all the things you need to do, but then when you get on the horse, being able to then relax again and kind of get ahead in the game and not be sort of like a headless chicken, because otherwise your tense, their tense, everyone's tense, and it's just not very fun.
And for the first time in the UK.
So there we have it. I hope this wasn't a very stressful vlog. I sort of slightly feel like when I edit it, it's going to feel like I'm running from one place to another, but hopefully it was interesting, an interesting insight into poles. I'm hoping the next vlog will be hacking. We're supposed to be hacking on Fridays. Hopefully the next vlog will be hacking. And then after that, I should have an update for you on our next vet visit when we might be trotting. Very exciting. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this week's video. I will see you next week, Friday, 4 PM UK time. Bye for now.